Learning objectives. In this chapter, the user would learn the following in detail. Shot design and composition, selection of close-up, mid-shot, wide angle, etc. Through case studies, drawing examples with clippings from important films. Porter Ponchardi, Mege Daka Tara, Tare Zamin Par, etc. Shot design and composition introduction. Shot design. Shooting principles. Let us study the basic terms that are essential for a shooting. Shot. A shot is a series of frames that runs for an uninterrupted period of time. Film shots are an essential aspect of a movie where angles, transition, and cuts are used to further express emotion, ideas, and movement. The classic art structure. In production, a shot is the moment that the camera starts rolling until the moment it stops. In film editing, a shot is a continuous footage or sequence between two edits or cuts. Field size. Shot. The field size explains how much of the subject and its surrounding area is visible within the camera's field of view and is determined by two factors: the distance of the subject from the camera-subject distance, and the focal length of the lens. The same field size can be achieved at varied camera-subject distances by using a lens with a compensating focal length and at varied focal lengths by choosing a compensating camera-subject distance. Camera placements. Shots referring to camera placement and angle rather than field size include camera angles, the aerial shot, the bird's eye shot, sometimes performed as a crane shot, the low-angle shot, the over-the-shoulder shot. Selection of shots. Close-up. A close-up in filmmaking, television production, still photography, and the comic strip medium is a type of shot which tightly frames a person or an object. Close-ups are one of the standard shots used regularly with medium shots and long shots. Medium close-up, MCU, on camera scripts. Halfway between a mid-shot and a close-up. Usually covers the subject's head and shoulders. Extreme close-up, ECU or XCU. The shot is so tight that only a detail of the subject, such as someone's eyes, can be seen. Extreme long shot, person in surroundings. Extreme long shot can be taken from as much as a quarter of a mile away and is generally used as a scene setting, establishing a shot. Long shot, whole body. A long shot, sometimes referred to as a full shot or a wide shot, typically shows the entire object or human figure and is usually intended to place it in some relation to its surroundings. Medium shot, waist up. Medium shot is a camera angle shot from a medium distance. A medium shot shows to the audience the scenery and the characters in the scene. Over the shoulder. Over the shoulder shot, also over shoulder OS, OTS or third person shot, is a shot of someone or something taken from the perspective or camera angle from the shoulder of another person. Single. One person in the frame. A single appearance by a performer, as in a play, motion picture or television program. Two-shot. Two people in the frame. A two-shot is a type of shot employed in the film industry in which the frame encompasses a view of two people, the subjects. Three-shot. Three people in the frame. Three-shot has three people in the composition of the frame. In these shots, the characters are given more importance. This type of image can also be seen in print advertising. Wide angle. In photography and cinematography, a wide-angle lens refers to a lens whose focal length is substantially smaller than the focal length of a normal lens based on a given film. A wide-angle lens is also one that projects a substantially larger image circle than would be typical for a standard design lens of the same focal length. This type of lens allows more of the scene to be included in the photograph, which is useful in architectural, interior, and landscape photography, where the photographer may not be able to move farther from the scene to photograph it. Dissolve. In the post-production process of film editing and video editing, a dissolve is a gradual transition from one image to another. The terms fade out and fade in are used to describe a transition to and from a blank image. Focus the target. Focus, also called an image point, is a point where light rays originating from a point on the object converge. Composition, the arrangement of everything within the frame set. It is easy to get off track regarding composition as a new or an independent filmmaker. With low budgets often comes the necessary evil to focus on some things at the expense of others. Getting the desired effect of every scene includes several facets of composition. Incorporating images into the frame by the rule of thirds is a good building block. Afterwards, it comes down to what you want to put in that frame now that you know what the frame consists of and how many people are going to be viewing it. In the late 1970s, when the original Superman was being made, the film made extensive use of back projection, set pieces, and rigging for the flying sequences. Under the tutelage of stop-motion guru Harryhausen, new filmmakers of this era knew that it is best if traditional effects have a place at the table. What is aesthetics? Aesthetics is a branch of philosophy that deals with the nature and expression of beauty as in the fine arts. In other words, it is a study of the psychological responses to beauty and artistic experiences. How to achieve aesthetics in video production? Let us study how to achieve the aesthetic through use of composition. Subject. When the most important goal in creating a video is to make it look very real and convincing, we call that having a subject view. A work's subject should be something that the viewer can easily identify with. Composition. A second aesthetic view of video is the composition view. In this view, the most important factor in a video is its composition. The composition is the way the principles are used to organize the elements of a video. Content. A third aesthetic view is the content view. Content in a video refers to the message, idea, or feeling expressed by a subject. What is composition? The way in which images can be effectively structured within a frame or single shot is known as composition or frame composition. Composition means the relationship between the visual elements. To get a good composition, the elements of unity should be chosen carefully. Considerations for composition. The following are some of the considerations for composition: aspect ratio, rule of thirds, symmetry, closure, scale, shape, and 3D. The three most common aspect ratios: 4:3. This is a standard television format used throughout the second half of the 20th century, sometimes referred to as 12:9. 16:9. This format has gained acceptance as the new standard for widescreen TV, DVD, and high-definition video. 21:9. CinemaScope, a very widescreen format used for theatrical release movies. Rule of third. The rule of third is a powerful compositional technique for making photos more interesting and dynamic. The rule of third states that an image is most pleasing when its subject or regions are composed along imaginary lines which divide the image into thirds both vertically and horizontally. Symmetry, asymmetry. Symmetry balances the objects in the scene, appears stable and solid, but can be boring. Asymmetry. Frame is more volatile and interesting, but can be distracting. Key to good directing is knowing how to balance these. Symmetry should be balanced with rule of thirds. When people are talking, asymmetry is distracting. Characters need to be balanced. Asymmetry. It is better to have a single actor make the frame asymmetric than symmetric in many cases. This follows the rule of thirds. Closure. Closure is a sense of completeness invoked in the viewer. Fixing the subject in the center of the frame gives a sense of closure. Call this a closed frame. We feel that the scene is complete, no relationship with the rest of the scene. Frame movement. Try to maintain the composition style when there is motion. Closed frames should stay closed. open frames should stay open. Common bad camera work. Asymmetric frame becomes symmetric. Symmetric frame becomes asymmetric. When compositing multiple shots, the tones in the images must stay similar. Combining shots with very different contrast levels is disconcerting to the viewer. Combining mismatched tonal shots can shock the audience. 7 key elements of composition: texture, color, tone, direction, proportion, solid and void, form and shape. Texture. The word texture generally refers to the appearance and feel of a surface. However, it could also mean the physical composition or structure of something, especially with respect to its size, shape, and arrangement of its parts. In this figure, a variety of textures can be seen in the roofs, walls, and paving. Strongly identifiable shapes in roofs and battered walls are seen as repeated units, presenting a definite and distinguishable feel of the surface. Color. Here, color refers to hue or color range. Color is one of the pronounced elements of aesthetics, and its selection is very crucial to the overall effect it has on aesthetics. A variety of effects can be produced by varying luminance, fullness, and its transparency. Tone. Tone is related to the color theory and varies from the neutral scale of white to black through a range of grays. This plays an important role in drawings used to represent buildings. Direction. Every building has elements which suggest direction. In most buildings, these are strong elements that suggest vertical and horizontal direction. The total shape of the building, or parts of the building, or its structural components such as beam, column, wall, its windows and other openings all suggest the direction. Proportion. In this context, proportion is a geometric relationship of the sides of volumes, that is, rectangles. It is also the ratio and comparative size of individual parts of the composition. Ducal Palace, Urbino in Italy, illustrates the concept of unity through proportions. We cannot measure these relationships accurately by eye, but we can compare them and try to judge the relationship of one to another on proportional basis. Solid and void. The relationship between solids such as walls, roofs, etc., and void such as windows and other opening units is very important to form a good composition. Form and shape. Form and shape can be clearly observed in the overall arrangement of a building or in parts of a building, windows, doors, etc., which have geometric shapes. Repetition or variation of a particular form can provide strong elements of composition. Parts of a building, for example, windows depicting form, represent geometric shapes such as a square or rectangle. Repetition of a window unit forms a good element of composition. Shape helps to identify different forms. For example, the pitch of a roof will provide a certain form which is easy to identify and also easy to relate to other roofs which have a similar pitch. When a roof is of a distinctly different shape, it will look strongly dissimilar. Filmmaking Design. Production designers are major heads of department on film crews and are responsible for the entire art department. They play a crucial role in helping directors to achieve the film's visual requirements and in providing producers with carefully calculated schedules which offer viable ways of making films within agreed budgets and specified periods of time. Directors of photography and production designers are largely responsible for informing and realizing the director's vision. Production designers must have expert knowledge of many art and design-related subjects, including draftsmanship, technical drawing, color theory, architecture, building and construction, history of design, interior design, cameras and lenses, lighting, etc. Filmmaking. Filmmaking is one of the most rewarding vocations ever, and there's never been before so many platforms on which to showcase your work. There are a number of businesses you can approach to make compelling films that will not only be creative but also lead to business growth. Everyone can learn to be a great filmmaker. It's a choice. Nobody will tell you this, but becoming a confident and successful filmmaker is actually fairly straightforward. The most important factor in creating filmmaking success is your mindset and thinking. That's why we focus on building your confidence and on teaching you how to follow a process when shooting. Once you master this, you will be amazed at how easy it is to replicate in any situation. Get a slide reversal film. If you care about color and don't care too much about the cost and availability of developing and scanning, slide films have much better and accurate color rendition, if only because there's only one accurate way of rendering the color in a particular slide film. Go for black and white. If you like the look of it, traditional black and white film is again more difficult and expensive to get developed than color negative film, but is easier to scan. Try as many different films as you can. Try as many different films as you can until you find one or a few that fit your style and the kind of pictures you take. You might even find your introduction for film spacing. Continuity editing is a predominant style of film editing and video editing in the post-production process of filmmaking of narrative films and television programs. The purpose of continuity editing is to smooth over the inherent discontinuity of the editing process and to establish a logical coherence. Plan your design. In most films, logical coherence is achieved by cutting to continuity, which emphasizes smooth transition of time and space. However, some films incorporate cutting to continuity into a more complex classical cutting technique, one which also tries to show psychological continuity of shots. The montage technique relies on symbolic association of ideas between shots rather than association of simple physical action for its continuity. 35 mm framed spacing. An all-black leader with soundtrack identification and frame lines for easy threading. It is used between trailers and for intermissions without shutting down the lamp or closing the dowser on the projector. An all-black leader with frame marks along the edge of the film. It can be used between trailers and for intermissions without shutting down the lamp or closing the dowser on the projector. Clear framed spacing. Used for intermissions, thread-up, and interlock applications with the projector dowser closed. This is a clear leader with blue soundtrack identification and solid frame lines. Blue frame spacing. Blue frame spacing with frame lines and soundtrack identification and clear frame lines. Low-cost framed spacing. Black and white 35 mm mylar spacing, framed. Black, black and white, clear edge-marked spacing, 35 mm. Continuity editing. A system of cutting used to maintain continuous and clear narrative action by following a set of rules. Establishing shot, shot, reverse shot, 180 degrees rule, 30 degrees rule, cross-cutting, match on action, eye-line match, re-establishing shot. Characteristics of continuity editing. Graphic qualities are continuous. Figures are balanced, symmetrical. Action takes place in center of frame. Lighting remains constant, usually high key. Rhythm of cutting depends on camera. Special continuity. Space of the scene is constructed along the axis of action or the 180-degree line. Spectators should always know where characters are in relation to each other and to the setting. Screen position, eye-line matches. Screen direction. Introduce the space we are about to inhabit. In order to maintain continuity in a scene with two on-camera subjects, imagine a straight line connecting them, the line of action. 180-degree system. Cross-cutting. Builds up suspense, creates various spaces, presumably in same time. Allows unrestricted access to causal, temporal, and spatial knowledge. Conclusion. Present your design in a way that it attracts the audience. Conclusion. In this chapter, we have covered the following in detail: shot design and composition, selection of close-up, mid-shot, wide angle, etc. Through case studies, drawing examples with clippings from important films. Author Ponchardi, Mege Daka Tara, Tare Zamin Par, etc.